It truly goes without saying that Kendrick Lamar dominated the beef against Drake and came up on top by a significant margin. However, his win over Drake is the result of something far more powerful than just piecing up syllables. The most critical aspect of Kendrick's win comes down to one thing: strategy. Everything this man did before the battle, in the battle, and especially after the battle has been extremely calculated and downright impeccable. Let's just be real here, like the guy hasn't made a single mistake. Kendrick daydreamed about destroying Drake for a very long time, and in 2024, I believe he crafted a calculated strategy, a master plan that we're gonna call How to Strangle a Goat.
The black know how to strangle me a goat.
So how do you take down a powerhouse like Drake? Well, a lot of rappers wouldn't be up to the task because most of them are missing a critical piece that Kendrick has had for a very long time. This is the secret sauce that can't be purchased, can't be taught, or replicated. Without this element, Kendrick's strategy wouldn't even exist, and the beef wouldn't have happened in the first place. The precursor that fueled everything is the fact that Kendrick Lamar has an undeniable hatred towards Drake. And this was the ultimate setup for everything that he did. I believe both of these MCs knew at some point that they would one day clash, but I don't think Drake took it as serious because he didn't share that same hatred. Drake may have disliked Kendrick or was annoyed by him, but hate is a pretty strong word, and Kendrick definitely had this emotion with him.
Now let me say I'm the biggest hater.
I don't believe for one second that 2024 was the first time Kendrick picked up a pen with the intention of going at Drake. I'm convinced he started crafting verses as far back as 2013, taking notes, studying Drake's every move, every misstep, every rumor, and he carefully analyzed all the battles that Drake was already in. I was told by an inside source that Kendrick had a diss track for Drake back in 2021 with most of the same subject matter. So without this element of hatred for Drake, Kendrick would have never had the desire to construct this plan, but the first step of his ingenious strategy is what I like to call the moral man tactic. This one was critically damaging to Drake. Make no mistake, one of Kendrick's ingenious plays in this beef was his ability to portray Drake as a complete degenerate while casting himself in the most favorable light. This was a very straightforward strategy of framing one side as bad and the other side as good. And this worked flawlessly. One of the first things that Kendrick executed out the gate, and a huge part of his game plan, was to paint Drake as a pathological liar.
Fabricating stories on the family front, cause you heard Mr. Morale. I think somebody lied. Or pathetic master manipulator. You lied about your ghost riders. You lied about your crew members. Here was God's plan to show y'all the liar.
And this was a really smart move because when Drake finally did levy allegations against Kendrick, people immediately wrote it off as Drake doing exactly what Kendrick said he was going to do. Continuously planting into the brains of the people that all they should be expecting from Drake is a whole bunch of bullshit was done with an extreme degree of intent. Don't listen to anything that guy says. It's all gonna be a bunch of bullshit. And not only did he paint Drake as a habitual liar, but he made him out to be the most evil, despicable person on the planet. Drake hates black women.
He hates black women, hypersexualize them.
Drake is a misogynistic body shamer.
You a body shamer. You go hide them baby mamas, ain't you? He a narcissist, misogynist.
Drake is a rat.
Yeah, I know some shit about niggas that make gonna wanna look like a saint.
Drake is a horrible father.
Waking them up, know nothing about that. Then tell them to pray, know nothing about that. And the deadbeat that should never say more life. A child should never be compromised, and he keeping his child around him.
Drake is a terrible friend.
No Wayne grow like he was in jail. That's conniving.
Drake's own team even hates him.
Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it.
Drake is a bully.
Fake bully, I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person.
Drake is a coward.
Understand, no throwing rocks and hiding hands. That's law.
Drake is a gambling addicted psychopath.
I'm blaming you for all his gambling addictions, psychopath intuition.
Drake is completely sadistic. The guy belongs in a padded room.
Your son's a sick man with sick thoughts. I think niggas like him should die.
Drake is a pedophile.
Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young.
And he's also a sex trafficker.
Hit my Weinstein, she get fucked up in a cell for the rest they life. Or better yet, selling your niece to the weirdo.
Again, the framework is good versus evil. If you're supporting Drake, you're pretty much co-signing all this other shit that I just told you about. Kendrick started planting these seeds very early on in the beef. The logic was to make Drake look like such a bad person that there's no way anything he would have to say would have any sort of truth to it. Then the allegations just kept getting worse and worse with every record, and because Kendrick set this thing up the way that he did, by the end of the beef, people were actually convinced that Drake was this person. And a lot of these things about Drake aren't even true, but that didn't matter. This is a beef. He's not supposed to paint Drake in a positive light. In contrast, Kendrick painted himself as the complete opposite and gave the impression that he was nothing like Drake, that he could actually be trusted, and that he was a man of integrity and morals. He made it clear that he loves the children and that he's here for the children.
Put my children to sleep with a prayer, then close my eyes. Definition of peace. Cause our children is the future, but he lives inside confusion. Teaching them morals, integrity, discipline. Listen, man, you don't know nothing about that.
He even said that he made his last album specifically for the children.
This the reason I made Mr. Morale, so our babies like you can cope.
He talks about how he understands women and what they go through, and he empathizes with them, and he's here to protect them.
Especially with other girls that's hurt inside this climate. Oh, he should die so all of these women can live with a purpose. You're a woman, so you know how it feels to be in alignment. Nigga better not speak on Serena.
He makes clear distinctions between Drake's character and his character.
I make music that electrify 'em. You make music that pacify 'em. I'm allergic to the lame shit. Only you like being famous. Why would I call around trying to get dirt on niggas? Y'all thinking my life is rap? That's whole shit. I got a son to raise.
Do I really seem like the guy that's gonna be digging up dirt on people? Like that's a Drake thing. I got kids to raise.
I'm sorry that I live a boring life. I love peace.
Kendrick is all about the butterflies and the lullabies, and he sheds a tear every time a baby cries.
I don't have a hating bone in my body.
I don't have a hating bone in my body. I'm just here to protect everyone from all these perverts over here.
I'm looking to shoot through any pervert that lives, keep the family safe.
So when we really zoom out, this is the narrative that was painted that worked insanely well in the beef. Drake is someone that hates black women. I love all women. Drake is a deadbeat dad. I tuck my kids in with a prayer every night. Drake is a sadistic psychopath. I live a boring life that's all about love and peace. Drake is a habitual liar. I'm here to tell you guys the truth. Drake is a sick PDF file. I'm here to protect the children and women. And regardless of what's true and what's not true, didn't matter. Like, people ate all this shit up. Kendrick was incredibly smart with this approach because he already had somewhat of a sweetheart reputation, and Drake's very public life was anything but that. Kendrick knew exactly what he needed to do and say to craft a narrative of good versus evil, and it worked flawlessly. Kendrick Lamar came in on 10, right? Like, he was very meticulous. Alright, so the second thing that Kendrick did in his strategy of strangling a goat was that he put on a masterclass on how to validate the public. And he did this one extremely well. Outside of the fact that Kendrick brought forth every rumor and conspiracy theory in existence about Drake, but he also knew exactly what to say to the audience to validate their pre-existing beliefs.
Somebody's lying, I can see the vibes on act, even he looking compromised.
Alright, so people are calling act compromised? Like that's the buzzword right now? I'm gonna put that into music.
Playing dirty with propaganda, hit blow up on you. You're playing nerdy with Zach Bia and Twitter bots.
Again, these were all things mentioned by people before, but Kendrick understands what it is to validate the audience and their opinions, and that when he does this, they absolutely love it.
Once upon a time, all of us was in chains. Homie still double down, calling us some slaves.
People hated that line about slavery from Drake, and he knows that. He's been paying attention, so he puts it in the music. Another thing that Kendrick did extremely well was he painted the situation as if he was up against the industry in the battle and was here to expose information.
But the industry's cooked as I pick the carcass apart. Industry can hate me, fuck them all, ain't they mama? Whoever that's fucking with them, fuck you niggas and fuck the industry too. I've been in this industry 12 years, I'ma tell y'all one little secret. There's some weird shit going on and some of these artists be here to police it.
In reality, Kendrick is the industry, and he's not exposing anything that hasn't been discussed for decades now, but It's all about putting numbers on the board. Like, he knows these things are gonna hit. Kendrick is insanely tapped into what's being said online. He understands how much people are drawn to these ideas, so he's given the people exactly what they want to hear. And like I said, he takes this a whole step further because he positions it like he's the one that's up against the industry.
Him and Weinstein should get fucked up in a cell for the rest of their life.
The Weinstein and Drake comparisons were actively going on within Kendrick's community long before this track dropped, but Kendrick understands the power of validating the public's beliefs. It gives people a chance to say, oh shit, like I've been saying that for years and now Kendrick's saying it. I was right.
Your little means is losing steam, they figured you out.
They know exactly what you're doing. And this is all smart. Like, people loved it when he said things like this. Kendrick was masterful at this. He had a way of making people feel like they were part of something bigger. Like they were special just for aligning with what he was saying.
The audience not dumb. Shape the stories how you want. Hey Drake, they're not slow. 5% will comprehend, but 95 is lost.
I hear that last quote all the time. And I'm not saying it's everybody here, but I hear that quote from literally some of the slowest people on the internet. I swear to God.
The embassy about to get raided too. It's only a matter of time.
Kendrick knows exactly what he's doing. He understands that narratives like this one will make people absolutely lose their minds. He's tapping into every boxed in and Reddit conspiracy theory, and fans are eating it up. He was really paying attention. Like, he studied this. He read everything. Nothing got past him in this beef. And look, a lot of people wrote this one off as bullshit, but after Not Like Us dropped, quite a few of Kendrick's lines were found to be old tweets from random Twitter accounts. At first, I felt this was also coincidental, but because I've noticed this obvious trend of him or his team using talking points from online, I personally can't rule this out anymore. And I'm not going to say it's 100% chance that he did this, but I'm also not going to say it's 0% either, because it's obvious he was getting talking points from the general public and the internet. Validating the public was an extremely powerful tactic in his victory against Drake, but number 3 is equally as important, as Kendrick studied what works.
It was written like Nas, but it came from Quentin.
A huge part of Kendrick's game plan went into studying the results of Drake's previous beefs. What are the things that worked? What are the things that didn't work? And it's pretty obvious that Kendrick honed in on the methods used by Pusha T as he was successful at taking down Drake. On the story of Adidon, Pusha had a whole bunch of shots towards Kendrick's mom, his dad, like the family. He had lots of angles about that.
Marriage is something that Sandy never had, Drake. Dennis Graham, stay off the gram, bitch, I'm on one.
Meet the Grams is essentially an extension of what Pusha did with Drake. It was like the story of Adidon on steroids, as Kendrick would take it a step further by writing personal letters to each family member.
Dear Adonis, dear Sandra, dear Dennis.
Between these two records, there is a lot of similarities.
Deadbeat motherfucker playing border patrol. And a fucking deadbeat that should never say more life. Your father walked away at 5, hell of a dad thing. His father probably didn't claim him neither.
Kendrick would also use very similar angles in the battle, like questioning Drake's blackness.
Confused, always felt you weren't black enough. Afraid to grow it cause your fro wouldn't nap enough. How many more black features till you finally feel that you're black enough?
And Kendrick would also use the angle of pitting Drake's team against him by planting seeds of doubt within his camp.
It wasn't that she was divulging it.
She divulges to 40.
Yeah.
She's having sex with
Telling her nigga.
Have you ever thought that OVO is working for me?
And this worked because Kendrick was able to get inside Drake's head, and it was really messing with him.
This nigga sent me a rat emoji.
Kendrick also took note of just how effective revealing a shocking secret was, and how this ultimately won the battle for Pusha. In fact, Kendrick took such great note of this that he even came with the exact same secret.
You are hiding a child. He's hiding another child.
Now, does Drake have a daughter? I can't rule it out. Like, I don't know Drake. I don't think he does, but it's possible. Like I said, Kendrick really hates Drake, and I think he played this shit like Moneyball. What can I say that'll get me on base? What's gonna get points? What worked in the past? What are the general public saying? All this was taken into account, not just in 2024, but for over a decade. When Kendrick said that he had 5 more in stock, like 5 more in the chamber, I totally believe him because I think he was sitting on so much material that there's a lot he didn't even use. And some might call this level of hatred crazy, but Kendrick knew this day was coming, and he came in on 10. From his perspective, this is hip-hop, and hell is gonna have to freeze over for Drake to ever get the upper hand. There was just no way he was taking an L to Drake. No fucking way. Moving on to number 4 in Kendrick's strategy of how to strangle a GOAT is without a doubt the timing of his records. This one is very, very important. You can't engage in a battle without laying down some bait, and Kendrick lured Drake into this thing in a very strategic way. Talking about timing, 2 days before this record dropped, Drake and J. Cole had just finished a joint tour. They were on a whole wave of positivity, giving each other flowers, promoting each other's music, making records together, and I know this is a Future and Metro track, but this was definitely discussed, and Kendrick wanted this thing to drop at this time. He pretty much was like, okay, yeah, I see your little bromance you guys got going on. That's cool, that's cute. I'll wait for that to be over, but I'm about to shake this thing up.
But this is hip-hop, and them niggas should know what time it is.
To say Kendrick drew inspiration from his own Control verse would be an understatement. We all know the impact that this Control verse had, and if it's not broken, there's no need to fix it.
Motherfuck the big 3, nigga, it's just big me, nigga.
So Kendrick pretty much said, I know how effective this is, I'm gonna follow the same blueprint again, I'm gonna hop on a guest feature and go completely nuts, but this time I'm gonna build on it and be far more direct.
For all your dogs getting buried, that's a K with all these 9.
And again, timing is really important on this because Drake still had a few shows left from his solo tour. So while this record is going absolutely nuts, Drake can't escape this thing. He has to listen to it. He has to hear about it. He has to watch it go number 1. And the thing that the boy loves the most is going number 1.
I got my fucking head up high, my back straight, I'm 10 fucking toes down, and I know that no matter what, there's not a nigga on this earth that can ever fuck with me in my life.
However, the essence of timing his drop strategically only continues throughout this beef. Drake would drop push-ups and tailor-made, and it's here where Kendrick goes quiet. No post on social media, no public statements, nothing. And this was also a deliberate strategy as he gave Drake a false sense of security in the beef. Drake really thought he had this thing in the bag. He really thought Kendrick was stumped and didn't even think he was gonna respond.
I know you in that NY apartment, you struggling right now, I know it.
But boy was he wrong. While Drake trolled Kendrick on social media, Kendrick was looking at this thing like an actual war. A good chess player might predict their opponent's next move, but a great player predicts the next couple of moves. It was during this period of being quiet where I believe Kendrick was simply tweaking his strategy. What am I going to use against Drake? What am I going to hold back? What style of record will I drop here? What style of record will I end off with? I believe Kendrick recorded a bunch of different diss records, and they will be used or not used based on what Drake's next move was. Okay, if Drake does this, I got this for him. But if he goes over here with it, I'm gonna give him this one. I think he had a bunch of. I think he was really prepared. And if we're gonna talk about timing, Kendrick's next drop might just be the greatest play in the history of hip hop beef, as Drake chose to go with a fairly melodic, upbeat record.
Hands on your knees, shake that ass for Drake, now shake that ass for free.
Okay, so Drake went the melodic route, something like back to back. Perfect, just what I expected. I got just the record to completely suck the life out of this thing.
Your son got some habits, I hope you don't undermine them.
56 minutes after Family Matters, Kendrick dropped Meet the Grams, and holy shit, what a difference in tone, what a difference stylistically. It was the perfect record to drop after a track like Family Matters, like perfect. Meet the Grams was not something to dance to. This was dark, scathing, very personal. If you turn this shit on, you would probably only scare the women away. But again, the most important part of this is 100% all about the timing. Let's just live in a world where Family Matters had a chance to breathe a little bit. Let's say Kendrick didn't respond until a couple days later. Well, first off, the allegations levied by Drake would have had way more room to circulate, and fans would have set an expectation for Kendrick to at least address the shit that Drake said. But what Meet the Grams did was it stepped on it so bad that it's like nothing we've ever seen. Secondly, Family Matters isn't the type of record you want hanging around for a couple days on its own. The track was pretty catchy, and the last thing you want is this thing shifting into back-to-back territory. It could have went there. It definitely could have went there if Kendrick delayed the drop of Meet the Grams. Like, the dynamic where this beef went could have drastically changed. And there's also the fact that Kendrick already knew exactly what Drake was gonna come with because Drake revealed his angles on push-ups and on Tailor Made, which was a huge mistake by Drake, revealing his hand. It's like he thought, okay, I got these allegations against Kendrick, this'll be enough to really fuck him up in this beef. But what Kendrick did was he crafted a strategy knowing what he was gonna say that totally took the power away from all of it. Genius. However, once the shock factor went away, people started picking apart the verse about the daughter. A lot of people were claiming that sonically, Meet the Grams had zero replay value, and that's something I agree with, is I just don't see who's listening to this on a day-to-day basis. But most diss records aren't hits. Like, battling is not about dancing, it's about who can disrespect the other person more. And Meet the Grams, in this case, checked all the boxes. But the game of chess was far from over. Kendrick likely recognized that Meet the Grams alone might not be enough to counter someone with Drake's hit-making ability, so within 24 hours, he delivered an absolute bop.
Hey, put the road label on me, I'ma get him dropped.
Now Kendrick not only has a scathing and disrespectful track in Meet the Grams, but he's also delivered the perfect counter to Family Matters, as Not Like Us was an even bigger record. The record is a full-blown smash, and the timing was impeccable. And by the way guys, this How to Strangle a Goat video is all about analyzing Kendrick's moves during the battle. I've got another video lined up titled Kendrick's Victory Lap, where we're gonna break down everything he did after the battle. The moves that he made after the battle, to me, is equally as impressive. Like, I wanna make a really good piece on it. And by the way, if you want something dope to remember the beef by, this is my merch right here. And what I did was I encompassed all the diss tracks into this design, and everybody loves it. Anybody who's placed an order, I've gotten nothing but good feedback. They're telling me it's like the highest quality YouTuber merch they ever bought, and that was intentional because I went through a shit ton of vendors to find the right quality materials and all that stuff, right? It really is the best way to support me and the channel, so really dope conversation piece, all about the music. I'll leave the link in the description. The fifth element that Kendrick incorporated to defeat Drake kinda goes without saying. It was when he weaponized the culture against him. He's so good at doing this that people don't even realize what he's doing.
Then notice I said we, it's not just me, I'm what the culture feeling.
Kendrick played this all really smart because he's positioning himself as the person that's speaking for everybody. Drake is the imposter, and I'm here to stand up for what's right. I'm doing this for all of us.
Tell them run to America to imitate heritage. They can't imitate this violence.
And it's lines like this one where he deliberately makes the distinction between Canada and America. This is also really clever because now he's making the beef about geography. Kendrick's right, we're not gonna let these Canadians copy us. And many people don't take notice to little things like this, but it's one of many ways that Kendrick subtly shaped the narrative. It's like he's saying, look, I don't know who else is with me here, but I'm American. We made this culture. This other guy, he's from Canada. This guy's a total outsider.
Somebody had told me that you got a ring. On God, I'm ready to double the wage. I'd rather do that than let a Canadian nickel make Pac turn in his grave.
Are we really gonna let this Canadian, who's not part of our culture, take Pac's ring? I'm gonna be the one to stand on business here. This is gonna resonate with people in hip-hop because who doesn't like Tupac? The guy is an icon.
I even hate when you say the word nigga, but that's just me, I guess.
Kendrick is pretty much saying, look, this could just be me, but I personally don't like the way that Drake says that. I don't know about you guys.
We don't wanna hear you say nigga no more.
Stop. We don't want to hear you say that anymore. Another brilliant tactic that Kendrick employed in this beef was when he removed all the copyright claims from his diss tracks on YouTube. This allowed creators to make money off reactions, breakdowns, and reviews, and was a masterfully calculated move. Not only did it earn him immense respect within the hip-hop community, but it also amplified the reach of his tracks, spreading them to an even bigger audience. I mean, this is unheard of. No one has ever done this before, and what a play. He pulled out every stop that he could in this beef. And of course, as this is very much intertwined with culture, a big part of Kendrick's strategy was also painting Drake as not just an outsider, but a complete culture vulture as well.
How many more black features till you finally feel that you're black enough?
And that's such a bar too, like the black features because he had the braids, and then the black features like musically. Such a bar.
It's no accent you can sell me. You run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. Yachty can't give you no swag neither. I don't give a fuck about who you hanging with.
Pitting the culture against Drake was the best angle that Kendrick could have ever took in this beef. He took a strong position of painting Drake as an outsider whilst making people feel like they were also part of the fight, and it totally worked. It didn't just work, like this really worked. At this point, you can see that Kendrick's strategy is 100% dialed already, but the sixth aspect that he implemented in order to defeat Drake was that he beat Drake at his own game.
And shout to all my boss, bitches, wife, and niggas.
Who could forget Back to Back, the hit record that Meek Mill couldn't get away from as it was constantly being played at sporting events, on the radio, nightclubs, and triggered countless online memes. Sound familiar?
And this also ties into studying Drake's previous beefs because he clearly looked at his approach with Meek.
What better way to humiliate Drake than by hitting him exactly where it hurts by dominating a space that he takes great pride in being the best at, being #1 on the charts. You don't need to have a technical ear for recognizing what a hit record sounds like to know that Not Like Us was destined to be a #1 record. I wasn't even halfway through the record when I paused it and looked at my girl and said, he's got a #1 record here. Like, this is out of here. Kendrick's got one. This is a major problem for Drake, this record. Not Like Us is not even just a hit. It's a full-on smash, meaning I don't think this record is going anywhere for a very long time. I personally don't see a time in at least the next decade where this record isn't being played at some capacity. There's a big difference in a hit and a smash.
Let me hurt that, till you gotta hurt back.
Do you know that Joe Budden still gets a nice check every year from this record? A track he did over 20 years ago? And that's because Pump It Up is one of those tracks that you'd be hard pressed not to hear at a ball game. And I feel like Not Like Us is also one of those records. What's more impressive about Not Like Us is it's a diss record. It's a diss record that is a smash. I'm just going to go off top here and say that 98% of diss tracks will just come and go. Very seldom does an artist catch one where they're disrespecting someone and it's at the top of the charts at the same time. We can pretty much count those on one hand. So when it comes to beating Drake at his own game, Kendrick literally secured the biggest diss record of all time. I didn't say it was the best diss record, but it's definitely the biggest. It's definitely the most successful. And if you don't like the record, your life is going to suck because I don't think it's going anywhere. Like, you're going to have to listen to this for quite some time. I really believe that. And one thing that we could say about Drake is he's really good with quotables in his music. And this is something else that Kendrick outperformed him in, as he had far more standout lines than Drake. I'm talking about a part where the DJ kills the music and then everyone's singing that part back.
What is it, the breaks? Motherfuck the big three. Nigga, it's just big me. Certified lover boy, certified pedophiles. Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 god. Wop, 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 wop.
It really is an art to be really good at doing these types of things, but notice that Kendrick, he uses like specific things that he wants to make sure these are the things that ring off. These are the things that I want people to remember, and all that's done with intent. Next, I want to get into some noteworthy items that Kendrick used that I can't really group into a category, but they're all equally as important. These are all still huge factors in the beef and how he won. First off, the public's perception of Drake, even before this beef started, wasn't really at its best. People were shitting all over his last album, and then he had beefs with a bunch of other artists. The optics of all the issues that Drake had with other people over the years had completely compounded, and it was one of those things where people would say, is it really all these other people that's the problem, or could it be Drake? And all this did was really help Kendrick's moral man strategy, where it's like, okay, I'm a really good guy, but like everyone's hating on this guy. Could it really be me? It really helped. Next, the two artists lead completely different lifestyles. Kendrick has maintained a very private life, while Drake has been highly public. Drake's history includes a bunch of beefs and scandals where Kendrick had plenty of material to draw from, while Drake didn't really have much data at all. Kendrick's a tough person to go up against in a beef because there's not much there, aside from his art, his music, and maybe a few things you might have heard about him. Another brilliant aspect of Kendrick's approach is his use of subliminal Easter eggs. That weird noise at the beginning of 616, which drove me crazy. The KTW thing also drove me nuts.
The Elohim KTW.
That looping sample that he used that sounded like it said Boy Wonder. He truly incorporated a wealth of these Easter eggs throughout the whole beef.
I can double down on that line, but spare you this time. I be at New Hall King eating fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy crow. Find the Jews like Cash Dog. I just need you to think. And one of them is actually next to you.
And all this did was add a layer of mystique to Kendrick's music, and it kept fans talking. Some of the things that he mentioned in this beef are things that people are still trying to dissect today. It had people going nuts, including me. Like, what in the fuck is he talking about? This guy's on some like jigsaw, cryptic, crazy shit. Like, Kendrick's demented. Kendrick is like a madman. Like, that all helps, and Drake barely had any of these. Another really intelligent choice made by Kendrick was that he opted out of entertaining any of the allegations that Drake had against him. Kendrick decided not to even bother with addressing any of Drake's claims because he already saw the power in his strategy in painting Drake as a liar, and he knew damn well that dropping Meet the Grams 56 minutes after Family Matters would completely void Drake's claims anyways. The man set the whole thing up so he didn't even need to respond. In fact, what he did was Kendrick placed the ball right into Drake's court, making it so that Drake had to address Kendrick's allegations. Why do you think we got the Heart Part 6?
I'm way too famous for the shit you just suggested, but
at the end of the day, Kendrick was waiting for this moment for a very long time, and it shows. He crafted an impeccable strategy that included 1. The moral man tactic, making this a battle of good versus evil. 2. He understood the power of validating the public and their overall perception. 3. He studied Drake's past battles and had a clear understanding of what worked. 4. He planned out the timing of his record so that nobody on earth could have predicted it. 5. He weaponized the culture against Drake, painting him as a vulture in the process. 6. He beat Drake at his own game with a smash hit. And 7. He had a bunch of other noteworthy things that he utilized as well. So when it comes to how Kendrick strangled a goat, this is essentially how he did it. This is what he did, 100%. This was the basis of how he defeated Drake. And I got a video coming, don't forget, Victory Lap by Kendrick. We're gonna go through all the things that he did after the beef in great detail.